They say blood runs thicker than water, but I learned that sometimes blood is just a vessel for poison, and water, in its vast, indifferent cruelty, can offer a strange path to rebirth. My own son David and his wife Vanessa threw me, his widowed mother, into the cold, unforgiving Atlantic, miles from shore, believing I would drown, all to steal my inheritance. But what they didn't know was that the ocean would become my grave and my resurrection. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My name is Margaret Harrison, and at 67 years old, I had lived a full life, a good life. My beloved husband Robert had passed 2 years prior, leaving me with a profound ache in my heart and a substantial legacy, a fortune he'd built with his own 2 hands, $3 billion to be exact. After his death, I had dedicated myself to charitable causes, to supporting local arts, and to doting on my only son, David, and his wife, Vanessa. They were my world, my only family left. When I recently underwent a hip replacement surgery, David and Vanessa were there, seemingly at my side. They arranged everything, from the finest private nurse to the most attentive physical therapy. They told me they loved me, that they were there for me, and I believed them with every fiber of my being. Looking back, the cracks were there, subtle at first. Little suggestions that my memory wasn't what it used to be, gentle coaxing to let them handle my finances. Just to take the burden off your shoulders, Mom. I brushed them off, attributing it to their well-meaning concern for an aging parent. I was still sharp, still capable, but a little tired, a little vulnerable. One crisp autumn morning, a few months after my surgery, David called, his voice brimming with false enthusiasm. "Mom, we have a surprise for you, a celebration of your recovery. Vanessa and I bought a yacht, and we want to take you on its maiden voyage. Just us, a beautiful cruise away from everything." My heart swelled. A yacht. What a lavish gesture. I packed a light bag, filled with the joy of an outing with my son and daughter-in-law, anticipating fresh sea air and heartwarming conversation. We drove to a secluded marina, the new yacht gleaming in the morning sun. It was magnificent, a truly luxurious vessel. David helped me carefully onto the deck, making sure I was comfortable in a plush chair, as Vanessa uncorked a bottle of expensive champagne. The salty air filled my lungs as we pulled away from the shore, leaving the familiar Boston skyline behind, replaced by the endless expanse of the Atlantic. They plied me with champagne, telling me stories, laughing. I felt cherished, loved. For a few blissful hours, I was truly happy. Then the mood shifted. We were miles offshore, the land a distant blur. Vanessa came over, a tablet in her hand, her smile no longer reaching her eyes. David stood beside her, his face a mask of strained civility. "Mom," David began, his voice flat, "we need to talk. We've been very concerned about your recent behavior, your memory lapses, your cognitive decline." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about, David?" I asked, my voice trembling. Vanessa leaned in, her eyes hard. "Don't play coy, Margaret. We know about the times you've forgotten where you put your keys, the little slips in conversation. We have notes. We've even consulted with Dr. Thorne." "Dr. Thorne!" The kindly doctor they had insisted I see for a routine checkup after Robert died. I remembered him asking oddly specific questions about my daily routines. "We're worried, Mom," David continued, "and for your own good, for your future, we think it's time you put your affairs in order. Sign over your inheritance to us. We'll manage it all. You won't have to worry about a thing." He pushed a sheaf of documents into my hand, a pen resting on top. My signature, on papers that would sign away everything Robert and I had built, everything that was rightfully mine. "This is ludicrous," I cried, my voice rising in disbelief. "I am perfectly lucid. I will not sign anything." Vanessa snorted. "Oh, you will, Margaret. We've recorded this entire conversation. Your refusal, your erratic behavior, your claims of lucidity. It's all here. Perfect evidence for a court to declare you incompetent. Better to do this the easy way. She brandished the tablet, its screen showing a live recording of my own distraught face. My son, my daughter-in-law, were blackmailing me. It hit me then, a sickening blow to my gut. This wasn't about concern. This was about greed, pure and unadulterated. You can't be serious," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. "How could you do this?" David's face hardened. "It's for the best, Mom. You're old. You don't need all that money. We do." Vanessa stepped forward, her face contorted into a sneer. "Sign it, you old fool, or we'll make sure you regret it." My hand trembled, but I held firm. "No, I will not." A flicker of genuine rage crossed Vanessa's face. "Fine," she snarled, her voice a low, chilling whisper. She leaned close to my ear, her breath smelling of champagne. "Say hi to the sharks." And then, with a shocking, brutal shove, she pushed me. I lost my balance, my recovering hip screaming in protest. Over the railing I went, plunging into the frigid depths of the Atlantic. The cold was an instant shock, stealing my breath. My head hit the water, then I was dragged under. I flailed, my new hip burning, my lungs burning. I saw the yacht, a sleek white silhouette against the vast blue sky, growing smaller and smaller. They were leaving me. They were leaving their mother to die. The betrayal was a physical pain, sharper than the cold, deeper than the fear. This wasn't just about money, it was about murder. As the last bubbles escaped my lips and the darkness began to close in, a single potent thought ignited in my mind. I will not die like this. Not for them, they will pay. I don't know how long I was in the water, an hour, 2? It felt like an eternity. The cold seeped into my bones and my body began to shut down. Just as I felt myself slipping away, a rough, calloused hand grabbed my arm, pulling me upwards. I spluttered, coughing up salt water, gasping for air. A kind, weather-beaten face hovered over me. "Hold on, ma'am. Gotcha. We're gonna get you to safety." It was Captain Jake Morrison, a gruff but gentle fisherman whose trawler had been on a routine run. He and his crew pulled my shivering, waterlogged body onto his boat, wrapping me in thermal blankets and forcing hot coffee into my trembling hands. Jake looked at me with deep concern. "What in God's name happened out there, ma'am? You're miles from any shore, and that fancy yacht just sped off like the devil himself was chasing it." I looked at him, my mind clear despite the shock. My son and daughter-in-law wanted me dead. They thought Ike was dead, and a cold, calculated resolve settled in my heart, replacing the raw, searing pain of betrayal. "Jake," I said, my voice hoarse, "they tried to kill me. My son and his wife. They pushed me overboard for my money." Jake's eyes widened, then narrowed in anger. "The dirty, rotten scoundrels. We'll call the Coast Guard, the police." But I shook my head. "No, not yet. They think I'm dead. Let them think that. If I'm dead, then they'll relax. They'll show their hand. And I intend to make them pay. Jake, every last penny, every last lie. I need you to help me disappear." Jake, a man of simple integrity, looked into my eyes and saw not a fragile old woman, but a formidable spirit. He nodded. "All right, ma'am. You're the captain of this ship now. What do we do?" Quote, Jake took me to a small, discreet bed and breakfast in Gloucester, run by a woman named Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen was a force of nature, sharp-eyed, no nonsense, and fiercely loyal once you earned her trust. She gave me a quiet room, warm clothes, and listened without judgment as I recounted my story, my voice still trembling with the lingering shock. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. "Your own son?" she muttered, shaking her head. "Monsters. But you, Margaret, you have fire in you. Good, you will need it." She understood instinctively that I wasn't just seeking vengeance, I was seeking justice, a restoration of balance. and a reclamation of my very existence. We decided I needed to truly vanish. No hospitals, no official reports. Jake provided a small burner phone, and Mrs. Chen, with her network of discreet contacts, began to help me set up a new, ghost-like identity. A few days later, Mrs. Chen brought me a newspaper. There it was, on the front page of the Boston Globe. Prominent philanthropist Margaret Harrison drowned in tragic boating accident. It spoke of my recent struggles with memory and my suspected early-onset dementia. It mentioned a heartfelt plea from David and Vanessa for privacy during their time of grief, and, sickeningly, requested donations to the Alzheimer's Association in my name. They had cemented their lie. The obituary was a sickening performance, a grotesque farce, but beneath the anger, a cold clarity settled. This was their opening act. My turn was coming. My immediate priority was my former home, a beautiful brownstone in Beacon Hill that had been in Robert's family for generations. It held not just memories, but crucial documents, my entire life. Mrs. Chen, ever resourceful, found an old friend, a retired locksmith with a penchant for puzzles, who discreetly helped me gain entry through a forgotten side door after dark. My home felt alien, violated. The air hung heavy with a sense of desecration. I moved like a ghost, my hips still aching but my mind razor sharp. I knew where Robert kept his important papers, where I kept my journals. I systematically searched, looking for anything that might shed light on their betrayal. And then I found it. In Robert's old study, tucked away in a hidden compartment behind a bookshelf, was a leather-bound notebook. It wasn't Robert's, it was Vanessa's. Its title, scrawled in her elegant handwriting, sent a shiver down my spine. The Margaret Project. Inside, it was a meticulously detailed timeline, dating back a year, documenting every step of their conspiracy. Staged doctor visits with their hired stooge, Dr. Thorne, who would later diagnose my dementia. Fabricated instances of my memory loss and erratic behavior, complete with dates and notes on who was present to witness them. Instructions for David to gain power of attorney. A precise schedule for the yacht trip, with a chillingly specific time and location for my accident. My heart pounded with a mix of fury and profound horror. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act of greed. This was a calculated, year-long plot to frame me, steal my fortune, and murder me. But the most shocking discovery wasn't in the notebook. It was in the master bedroom, the room I had shared with Robert for decades. A soft cry drew my attention. Hidden away in what had once been my sewing room, now transformed into a lavish nursery, was a baby. A tiny, innocent infant asleep in a crib. A baby! David and Vanessa had never mentioned a child. They had kept this a secret. Who was this baby, and how did he fit into their monstrous scheme? My heart, so hardened by betrayal, softened inexplicably at the sight of this innocent creature. He was an unforeseen complication, a profound mystery, and suddenly, my quest for justice took on an entirely new dimension. This baby, this precious life, was now intertwined with their evil. I couldn't leave him. I couldn't take him without knowing his story, and I couldn't expose myself just yet. I stayed hidden for a few hours, just observing, documenting, taking photographs of the Margaret Project notebook with my burner phone. I learned that a private nurse, Carol Peterson, was caring for the baby. I listened, unseen, as she spoke to the baby, her voice gentle and loving. Back at Mrs. Chen's, I pored over my findings. The Margaret Project notebook was damning, but the baby was a crucial missing piece. Mrs. Chen, seeing the depth of the conspiracy and my renewed resolve, nodded. "This is beyond simple greed, Margaret. You need someone with a specialized skill set. I know a man, Danny Crawford. He's a private investigator, used to be FBI, very discreet, very effective." Within hours, Danny Crawford was sitting across from me in Mrs. Chen's living room, listening intently as I recounted everything, showing him the photos of the notebook and the baby. Danny, a man with shrewd eyes and a calm demeanor, absorbed every detail. "This is sophisticated," he stated, his voice low. premeditated. The dementia framing, the accident. But the baby, that's the wild card. It suggests a deeper motive, or perhaps another layer to their scheme. Who benefits from a child being involved? He set to work immediately, a whirlwind of quiet, methodical investigation. He began by tracing the baby's origins, starting with the nurse, Carol, but always under the radar. Within days, Danny's findings started rolling in, each more horrifying than the last. He quickly identified MT, the name scrawled next to legal counsel in Vanessa's notebook, as Miranda Torres, David's high-profile estate planning lawyer. This wasn't just David and Vanessa, this was a network. Danny uncovered that the baby, a little boy, had been illegally acquired through a surrogacy scheme orchestrated by Miranda Torres. The facility, Whitmore Reproductive Services, was a front. The baby's birth mother was a 17-year-old runaway named Sarah Collins. She had died under suspicious circumstances during childbirth, her death quickly dismissed as complications. Danny's deeper dive revealed that Miranda Torres ran an extensive criminal enterprise. She systematically targeted wealthy elderly individuals, often convincing their greedy relatives to conspire with her. She would then use her legal expertise to manipulate wills, establish guardianship, and, if necessary, orchestrate their accidental deaths, framing it as dementia-related mishaps, just as she had attempted with me. Sarah Collins's death was no accident. It was a consequence of Torres's ruthless operation to procure an heir for her clients. The forged will, which I later learned about, indeed left everything to David and future children. The baby was supposed to secure their claim, making the inheritance ironclad. David and Vanessa had been mere puppets, albeit willing ones, in Torres's grand scheme. As Danny worked, I became a phantom strategist. I had to appear dead, yet I had to prepare. I opened new bank accounts under my new, discreet identity, ensuring they were untraceable. I started systematically compiling every piece of evidence: the Margaret Project photographs, detailed notes from Danny's findings, old financial records I had access to from Robert's hidden files that proved my direct ownership of many assets, my meticulously kept personal journals that documented my true mental state, even my physical therapy progress reports. I had Mrs. Chen and Jake helping me with logistics, creating a secure communication system that bypassed conventional means. Mrs. Chen even introduced me to a retired judge she knew, who, without knowing the full truth, offered advice on legal precedents and how to establish undeniable proof of ownership, even posthumously. I consulted virtually with lawyers Danny recommended. One specialized in complex fraud and murder cases, all done through encrypted channels. My life had become a meticulously planned campaign, every move calculated, every detail accounted for. My quiet grief had transformed into a cold, unwavering purpose. The weight of Robert's legacy, of Sarah Collins's tragic death, of this innocent baby's future, rested on my shoulders. While I plotted my return, David and Vanessa, believing themselves safe and secure, began to revel in their ill-gotten gains. They appeared on society pages, flaunting their new wealth, purchasing luxury items, their grief a transparent veneer. They began to liquidate some of my charitable holdings, redirecting funds to their own ventures. They even discussed, within earshot of Carol, plans to put the baby, Robert Sarah, into a high-end boarding school as soon as he was old enough, effectively discarding him once he had served his purpose as an heir. They were arrogant, careless, and completely blind to the net closing around them. Each move they made, each lavish expenditure, each careless word, was dutifully noted by Danny, adding further layers to the already overwhelming mountain of evidence against them. They were digging their own graves, oblivious to the fact that I was already standing above them, shovel in hand. The time for my resurrection arrived. With Danny's help, I sent a single, chilling, anonymous note to David and Vanessa via their lawyer, Miranda Torres. It simply read, "Some things refuse to stay buried. I'm coming home." The intent was not to scare them off, but to unsettle them, to make them wonder. The next step was the baby's nurse, Carol Peterson. I couldn't just reclaim my life without ensuring the safety of this child. Mrs. Chen arranged a discreet meeting between me and Carol, away from prying eyes. Carol was a kind young woman, genuinely devoted to the baby. I revealed myself, explaining everything: who I was, what David and Vanessa had done, the Margaret Project, Miranda Torres, and the tragic story of Sarah Collins. I showed her the photographic evidence. Carol's face went from shock to horror, then to a steely determination. She had grown to love the baby, whom she called Little Bobby. "They lied to me," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "They told me you were ill, that you chose to disappear, and this poor baby, I'll help you, Mrs. Harrison. Anything." Carol became my inside source, planting tiny hidden cameras and audio recorders throughout my old home, focusing on areas where David, Vanessa, and Miranda Torres might discuss their plans. Massachusetts is a one-party consent state for recording. A crucial detail Danny had ensured was covered. The final confrontation was set. I sent a formal legal notice, delivered by an anonymous courier, demanding the return of my property, setting a date and time for my return to reclaim what is mine. It was a brazen challenge. David and Vanessa, utterly panicked by my unexpected survival and implied knowledge, immediately called Miranda Torres. They met at my former home. As I walked through the front door, the very air seemed to crackle with tension. David and Vanessa stood pale and rigid, while Miranda Torres, composed and arrogant, was already there, her sharp eyes assessing me. "Margaret," Torres said, a practiced smile on her face, "I'm relieved to see you're alive. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding, Miranda," I said, my voice steady, my gaze unwavering. "I know everything." I laid out the Margaret Project notebook, the forged documents, the evidence of the surrogacy, Sarah Collins's name. I spoke of their greed, their deceit, the attempted murder, the systemic fraud orchestrated by Torres. David looked like he was about to faint. Vanessa's face was a mask of furious denial. Miranda Torres, however, remained chillingly calm. She was a predator, used to controlling the narrative. "You're delusional, Margaret," she scoffed. "Still suffering from your condition, I see. These are wild accusations. You have no proof." She laughed, a cold, brittle sound. "You survived a dip in the ocean, old woman, but you're still a dying breed. And that baby is now legally David's. Your attempt to disrupt this perfectly legal adoption will fail." "Legal?" I echoed, my voice dripping with disdain. "Is that what you call murdering Sarah Collins to procure her child? Is that what you call orchestrating the accidental deaths of dozens of vulnerable seniors, like you planned for me, through your network of corrupt doctors and fraudulent lawyers? Is that what you call your compassionate intervention program, Miranda? How many elderly lives have you extinguished? For how many billions?" My words hit her like a physical blow. Her composure fractured, replaced by a flicker of fear, then a burst of arrogant rage. "How dare you? You have no idea what you're talking about. These are necessary interventions, Margaret, estate planning acceleration. Do you know how many greedy children demand their inheritance? I simply provide a service. 37, if you must know. 37 wealthy fools who outlived their usefulness, or whose families deserve their money more. And a few loose ends along the way, like that silly girl Sarah and her inconvenient baby. You think you're so smart? You're just another loose end I was coming to clean up. You and that mewling infant. You were next, Margaret. The cleaner I hired to take care of you after your funeral was sloppy, so I handled him myself. It's always better to do it yourself." Her confession, spoken with such casual depravity, hung in the air, chilling me to the bone. David and Vanessa stared at Torres, their faces pale with dawning horror, realizing the true depths of the monster they had allied themselves with. "Thank you for that, Miranda." A new voice cut through the stunned silence. Danny Crawford stepped out from behind a hidden door, flanked by 2 armed agents. He wasn't Danny Crawford, private investigator. He was Agent Daniel Crawford, FBI. "Agent Chan, we have the confession. All of it. A team of FBI agents swarmed the house, led by Agent Sarah Chan, their weapons drawn. Miranda Torres's face went slack with shock, then twisted into a primal scream of fury. David and Vanessa gasped, their eyes wide with terror. "Miranda Torres," Agent Chan declared, her voice firm, "you are under arrest for multiple counts of murder, fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering." David Harrison, Vanessa Harrison, you are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. It was over. The game was up. My heart, which had been a cold stone of resolve for so long, felt a strange lightness, a sense of profound relief. The fallout was swift and devastating. Miranda Torres, caught red-handed with her full recorded confession, received multiple life sentences for the 37 murders in her vast criminal enterprise. Her entire network crumbled, exposing 17 other conspirators, including corrupt medical examiners, lawyers, and even family members who had participated in her schemes. David Harrison was sentenced to 25 years in prison, Vanessa Harrison to 20 years. Their world, built on greed and lies, imploded. They lost everything: their ill-gotten fortune, their freedom, their social standing. They were broken, pathetic figures, but I felt no pity. Only a quiet, resolute sense of justice served. They asked for my forgiveness, pleading from behind bars, but I offered none. There was no room for it. Forgiveness was for those who showed remorse, not for those who would drown their own mother. My life, once shattered, began to mend, rebuilt not on blood ties, but on the profound bonds of a chosen family. The first step was legally adopting the baby. He was christened Robert Sarah Harrison, honoring his biological mother, Sarah Collins, and my late husband, Robert. He would know the truth, gently, as he grew, about his origins and the courage of his birth mother. Carol Peterson, who had helped me so bravely, became Robert Sarah's devoted nanny, a loving presence in his life. Captain Jake Morrison, my rescuer, my anchor, became a cherished friend, a steadfast figure in our new family. Mrs. Chen, with her quiet wisdom and fierce loyalty, remained a confidant and later established a foundation to help vulnerable seniors protect themselves from exploitation, with my financial support. Agent Crawford, now back to being just Danny, stayed in touch, a trusted advisor and friend. I bought a beautiful villa overlooking the sea in a quiet corner of Massachusetts, a place of peace and healing, far from the shadows of my past. I filled it with laughter, with love, with the innocence of a child. My fortune, once a source of deadly temptation, became a tool for good, supporting charities, fostering education, and ensuring Robert Sarah would grow up in a world of love, truth, and genuine compassion. I had lost a son, but I had gained a family. I had lost my old life, but I had reclaimed my soul and found a purpose greater than myself. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. It was about standing firm against evil, protecting the innocent, and honoring the memory of those who couldn't fight for themselves. I was Margaret Harrison, and I was finally home. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.